Hey knifers and cutters, it's Barry here back again with another episode of Handle and Blade. If it's got a handle and it's got a blade, we're going to talk about it here on the channel. Thanks for checking out this video here. In this one we're going to be talking about the Smith & Wesson HRT boot knife, and I'm going to tell you right from the jump, I have some big disappointments with this knife. Not happy with it, and I probably wouldn't recommend it to you as being one that you need to add to your arsenal, add to your toolbox, or any other reason to have it. Now, you may find that you love it. That's the good thing. You know, everybody has different opinions. That's why, you know, some people like this, some people like that. It is what it is. But I'm going to give you the challenges that I've run into with it and see if they match up or make sense to you. So let's start with, you know, it comes with a chain, fine and dandy. If you want a neck carry, it is what it is. I don't neck carry anything of this size for sure. Okay, so it doesn't, but that's not a make or break. Moving on to the sheath, though, we've got a fiberglass plastic sheath. Quality-wise, it is what it is. It's solid. It's not going to fall apart on you. Not going to break. You know, any issues there. But what I do have an issue with is the belt clip. It's not very strong. It tends to pull away really easy. So if you are in a situation where you're carrying it on your side and you've got it on your belt and you have the knife tucked deep down into the sheath, to hold it in place, and you go to grab your knife, and now I'm putting you in a situation where you've got to get that knife out. Okay, so remember, if you're in a situation, self-defense, an emergency situation, something that puts you under stress and pressure, you're going to forget most everything that you've been taught, everything you've learned, and most everything you've practiced. Okay, so the chances are you're just going to be grabbing for the handle and pulling. And if you do that with this knife in this sheath, it's probably going to pull the sheath along with it, and you're going to be doing this, okay, and have to just pull this off real quick, decreasing your reaction time. So that's one of my issues as far as that goes. Same thing if it's in your boot. If you got it in your boot, you reach down, you grab it. If you just grab the handle. Now, if you have time to think, you know, you're clear-minded, you're going to take your thumb, put it on the sheath, push down, and you're going to be okay. But even that being said, that's just one little gripe as far as that goes. I got a few more that count a little bit more than just that. So moving on from there, let's go ahead and jump into the knife itself. Now, false edge knife means you need to make sure that when you put your knife back in your sheath, you have it in the right direction, because this knife will go in either way. It's not set up to go one way or the other. It doesn't matter which way you put it in. It's a spear point tip, or yeah, spear point shape, right? So it's the same on both sides, except this is a false edge, this is your sharp edge, but everything else is symmetrically the same, so it doesn't matter which way you go in. So you have to be aware that if you're carrying this way and you're right-handed, you want your blade, your sharp side, over on this side, so that when you pull your blade out, right, there's your cutting edge. You don't want to be coming out and there's your dull edge. That's not going to do any good. Then you got to flip it around. Okay, so that's just an awareness thing. That's not a gripe on the knife. That's the way false edge blades are. Okay, spear point tip, it's a tip. It's not ultra sharp, and I like them ultra sharp. Okay, we're 7.5 inches overall length. 4.5 of that is, or 3.5 is blade. The rest is handle. And for me, because I have a little bigger hand, it's a bit small. The material, the TPR, or the TPR, yeah, TPR, it's a rubberized material. It's nice as far as being fairly grippy. If your hands are wet, slimy, you're not going to lose grip of the knife. You should be fine in that respect. If you're out cutting bait or something, trying to cut clams because you're fishing or something like that, using it in that situation, it's an okay knife. But other than that, as far as being an overall utilitarian style knife, cutting cardboard, cutting into packages, cutting rope, cutting things like that, it's just not going to be the knife for you. When you get this, the blade coming out of the package, it's not very sharp. And I went ahead and took the work sharpener to it, was able to put a much better sharpness on the blade itself. It's a high carbon stainless steel, but even then I'm not enthused. Okay, so just know that going in, that it's, you know, it's priced at what it's priced at. It's a lower end knife by Smith & Wesson. I'm not knocking all of S&W brands. or all their different knives, but this one, not overly enthused with it. It has a lanyard hole on the back end here. We've got some jimping on the handle itself here in this rubberized deal, so it does okay. The one thing they did do that I do like on a positive is depending on the direction you're going to be holding the knife, because if you're using this because you're stabbing, it has this little area here where you could go ahead and lock your thumb into, which is kind of nice. The same way here with the jimping and the curve, you're kind of locked in, okay? So that's good, but here is, I'll go with this as my final gripe. I do a lot of throwing with knives, okay? I use them, but as far as defense-wise, if I'm wanting to transition to a primary weapon, if I have a knife in hand, I'm not locked into a situation where maybe I need to draw my firearm. It's debatable on which way you would go. I guess if you feel sometimes if you were going to use a knife, you could probably justify using your firearm, but it just depends on the situation. But I just personally just have a lot of fun just throwing knives. It's just something I enjoy. So I test out my pocket knives, these types of knives, doesn't matter what it is. I'm always testing them out, throwing them at different objects, different types of things, materials, to see what they will stick into, what distance can I get away from an object with it. So on this one, after just testing and throwing it at a few boards and things and it hitting the ground, it's a full Tang, but it is loosened up within this handle here. It's not so much that it affects the knife really, but I can shake it and it's loose. So kind of disappointed there. Now S&W may come back and say, well, it's not a throwing knife, dummy, it's a boot knife, and they're right, but I still would hope that it would hold up for the long haul. I've got the Kershaw Secret Agent here to compare it to. Same basic style, same basic shape, same false edge, same spear point blade design, the same type rubber material, but and there is a bit of a size difference there, but I tell you, the Smith & Wesson, the Kershaw is a far better knife between the two. It's a little bit bigger though, so if you're looking for a smaller knife, I totally get it. But just comparing the two side by side, little bit of size difference, but overall, this is just a much better knife, in my opinion. Blade much better as far as being able to put a good edge on it and hold the edge. Tips a whole lot sharper on this one, and I've done the same thing. I've thrown this at a lot of different things. It has hit the ground and I haven't had any issues with it. So again, if you're looking for a boot knife, this style, spear point, single edge design, false edge on the back, I don't know that this is probably the one that I would go with. So as you'll find here on the channel, I'm going to kind of give you my true feelings on what I think of these knives. I'm not going to blow smoke there and try and convince you to jump onto something that I don't think would, in my personal opinion, would be the best choice. So matter of fact, I'm so disappointed I'm not even doing a cut test on this one. Usually I'll do a cut test on almost every knife. This one, not going to happen. It's just not that sharp. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this edition of Handle and Blade. You get a chance, go down there, hit the subscription button and bell notification, and I appreciate you for taking the time to watch another edition of Handle and Blade.